Good morning, I'm Shannon Smith, live in High Point, and we're getting you ready for a road trip this morning. We're going to pack the cooler. A few tips to keep your food cool and in shape while you're on your trip after the break. Good morning, I'm Shannon Smith, live in High Point. We're getting you ready for a road trip this morning. You have to have a cooler. We're going to show you a couple of tips right now to help pack it more efficiently. Allie McVan here to tell us about that. Good morning again.
Good morning, Shannon.
So you're a professional organizer, and your cooler definitely needs to be organized.
Well, if you want to be able to find the drinks, which are the most commonly sought after item in the cooler, and a great idea is to, first of all, put your layer of ice, and then if you even want to get really creative, put a layer of ice cream salt, and then some more ice. This will keep the ice from, it will maintain the ice even longer, but put the drinks on the perimeter of your cooler. That way they're down in the ice and they're completely accessible, because as you put your other things in there,
just don't dump them all in the bottom and then pile everything on top of them. You'll never find your drinks.
Or put the drinks on top, because then they won't really get cold or stay cold.
And keep everything cold beforehand. Like, don't just put drinks out of a box into the cooler. Put them in the refrigerator first. That way they'll be colder and stay colder.
Exactly.
Another tip they were talking about keeping things cold, pack the cooler as full as you possibly can.
Yes. That way, you know, it's kind of keeping itself cold. It's its own insulation.
So choose a cooler size that you can fill up.
Exactly.
Okay.
Very smart.
And one thing that I thought was interesting about the bread, don't just put this, like a lot of people just put this on top. You need to put it inside something else?
Well, I mean, if any kind of liquid got in through that little space, your bread would be mushy and yucky and unusable. So just take half a second and throw it in another Ziploc bag. Or if you have a Tupperware thing.
And some of the evaporation can even get through that thin plastic as well.
There you go.
This will keep it from doing that, keep your bread from getting soggy, which is just not a good tip at all.
Excellent point. I appreciate learning from you.
What other kinds of things do you need to keep in mind when you're talking about your cooler?
You know, if you can keep it in the trunk, that's great, because it is shadier in the trunk. You know, the sun will be coming through the windows of your vehicle. It might not be as convenient to get things, you know, while you're on the road. You know, it's a choice that you might want to contemplate, especially if you're going to be leaving your car. Maybe you would put it back in the trunk if you're traveling with it in the back seat or something.
Well, some very good tips, and I learned something with adding the ice cream salt to the ice, but don't obviously then use that ice, but it does keep everything in the cooler very, very cold, and will keep it kind of in that slushy mode, which is the coldest of the ice. And we're going to have more tips to pack your car, get your kids in the car and ready to go coming up in just a little bit.
I like that.
Yeah.
Getting the kids in the car, you know, the stuff's one thing. Getting the kids in the car, something else entirely.
And getting them not to say, "Are we there yet?"
No. You can't help that. 27 past the hour.